Have you ever looked back on your life and thought, if only I had known then what I know now? Life teaches us in ways no school ever could. Through joy and heartbreak, trust and betrayal, beginnings and endings, we collect wisdom, often at a cost. Yet some lessons remain unspoken, hidden between the lines of experience, only truly understood when it's almost too late. What if you could hear those lessons now? Not from books, not from theories, but from real lives lived, mistakes made, hearts broken, battles fought, and wisdom earned. In this video, we're going to uncover the most honest life lessons that no one talks about, the truths that shape our later years, the realizations that bring peace, and the small choices that define whether we grow old with regret or with contentment. Some of these lessons will comfort you. Others might challenge the way you've been thinking. But one thing is certain, they will make you reflect on your own journey in a way you never have before. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's explore together. Because sometimes the best advice comes not from the loudest voices, but from the quiet wisdom of those who have truly lived. 1. Life lessons. The truths time reveals. There comes a time in life when you stop running, stop chasing, and simply start being. When you finally understand that life is not about proving yourself to others, but about finding peace within yourself. It takes years, sometimes decades, to reach this understanding. But once you do, it changes everything. Life has a way of teaching us through experience. It's not always gentle and it's rarely straightforward. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in heartbreak, disappointment, or regret. But looking back, you realize that every stumble, every setback, every difficult goodbye shaped you into the person you are today. And the greatest lesson of all, that peace is worth more than winning, and letting go is often the most powerful thing you can do. Think about how much time we spend trying to hold on to things, relationships, expectations, even old versions of ourselves. We cling to the past because it's familiar, even when it no longer serves us. But here's the truth. The day a blind man regains his sight, the first thing he throws away is the walking stick that once guided him. Because once he can see, he realizes he no longer needs it. The same applies to us. We hold on to people who no longer bring us joy, responsibilities that no longer belong to us, and burdens we were never meant to carry. But the moment we decide to release them, we step into a new kind of freedom. It's not easy to unlearn the idea that being good means always giving, always forgiving, always putting others before yourself. But over time, you realize that being kind doesn't mean allowing yourself to be used. You are not a bottomless well, endlessly supplying water to those who never stop taking. Some people will take your kindness as a given, as something they are entitled to, without ever appreciating it. And if you're not careful, you will give and give until you are empty. That is not generosity, that is self-neglect. True generosity comes with wisdom, with knowing when to say, I have done enough. We often make the mistake of assuming that others think like us, that if we are honest, others will be too, that if we love with our whole heart, they will do the same. But that is not how life works. People are shaped by their own experiences, their own wounds, their own desires. Not everyone sees the world the way you do, and not everyone values the same things. You cannot make someone be who you want them to be. You cannot make someone change if they do not see a problem with their actions. This realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. It means that you are no longer responsible for carrying the weight of someone else's choices. Perhaps one of the hardest lessons to accept is that you cannot force love. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, you cannot make someone love you if they do not see your worth. Love is not something you earn. It is something freely given. If you find yourself constantly trying to prove your value to someone, then it is time to walk away. The right people will never need convincing to cherish you. There is an unmatched peace that comes with finally letting go of what others think of you. For so much of life, we try to fit into molds, to meet expectations, to seek approval. We silence parts of ourselves to make others comfortable, and in doing so, we slowly lose who we are. But there comes a point when you realize that none of it matters. The opinions of others will not bring you happiness, and they certainly won't be there in your final moments. What will matter then is how fully you lived, how freely you loved, and how much you allowed yourself to be at peace. Think of all the years spent worrying about things that, in the end, meant so little. The times you stayed up at night replaying a conversation, wondering if you said the wrong thing. The times you held back from speaking your truth because you feared judgment. The moments you sacrificed your own happiness to keep the peace with people who would never do the same for you. Imagine how different life could have been if you had simply chosen yourself sooner. And yet, it is never too late. No matter your age, no matter how many years have passed, there is still time to choose peace, to choose joy, to stop waiting for people to change and start embracing the life that is in front of you. The most beautiful thing about getting older is that you finally understand what is truly important. Not the opinions of strangers, not the pursuit of perfection, not the love you had to beg for, but the simple, quiet moments of contentment, the ability to sit with yourself and feel whole. There is no shame in wanting to be valued. There is no weakness in wanting to be loved. But the greatest power you will ever have is knowing when to stop seeking those things from the wrong places. Love should never be something you have to chase. Peace should never be something you have to fight for. If something costs you your inner calm, the price is too high. So as you move forward, ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? What burdens am I still carrying that no longer belong to me? What expectations have I outgrown? And most importantly, how can I make the years ahead the best years of my life? The answers will not come all at once, but they will come. And when they do, you will feel something you may not have felt in a long time. Lightness. Because life is not meant to be carried on weary shoulders. It is meant to be lived, to be savored, to be embraced with open hands and a free heart. Let go of the weight you were never meant to carry. Cherish the people who cherish you. And most of all, live with the peace that only time and wisdom can bring. 2. Personal choices, the power of how you live. There comes a time in life when you realize that happiness is not something you find, it's something you create. The years teach us that every decision we make, no matter how small, shapes the way we experience the world. How we present ourselves, how we handle relationships, and how we choose to move forward all contribute to the life we live. The beauty of growing older is that you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You only need to live in a way that feels right to you. Your clothes don't need to be expensive, but they should reflect the pride you have in yourself. There is a quiet dignity in putting on a well-kept shirt, in smoothing out the wrinkles, in choosing colors that make you feel good. Some people might think it doesn't matter, but when you look in the mirror and see someone who still takes care, it changes the way you walk into the world. Think of Mr. Davidson, a retired postman in his late 70s. Every morning, no matter the weather, he puts on his neatly pressed trousers, polishes his shoes, and combs back his silver hair before heading out for his daily walk. "If I don't take care of myself, who will?" he says with a smile. And he's right. When you carry yourself with care, the world responds to you differently, not because of the clothes, but because of the confidence they bring. But personal choices go far beyond appearances. They extend to the way we handle emotions, relationships, and the ever-changing nature of life. Just because you miss someone doesn't mean you need them back in your life. Nostalgia has a way of painting the past in softer colors, making us forget the reasons we walked away in the first place. Missing someone is natural. It means they mattered, but it does not mean they belong in your present. Margaret, a widow in her early 80s, used to spend hours reminiscing about an old friend she had lost touch with. They had once been inseparable, but over the years the friendship had turned one-sided. She always made the effort. The other person never did. One day, she picked up the phone, her finger hovering over the call button, and then she stopped. She realized she wasn't missing the person as they were. She was missing who they had once been. That was the day she finally let go. Life teaches us that we cannot change people. We can love them, support them, and hope they see the light. But in the end, everyone must walk their own path. If someone refuses to grow, refuses to take responsibility, refuses to meet you halfway, then the choice is simple. Either change yourself, change your environment, or do both. There is no need to waste years trying to convince someone to be better when they do not want to be. Take David, for instance. a man in his 70s who spent decades trying to fix his younger brother. No matter how much money he lent, no matter how many second chances he gave, his brother remained the same, always promising to change, but never actually doing it. One day, David woke up and made a decision. "I can't keep doing this," he told himself, and so he stopped. He didn't stop loving his brother, but he stopped trying to save him. It was one of the hardest choices he ever made, but also one of the most freeing. Another thing life teaches us is to leave when a promise turns into a sorry. Apologies are important, but when they become routine, when someone constantly says, "I'm sorry," without ever changing, it means their words are empty. A sincere apology is followed by action. If there is no change, then the apology is just a way to keep you from leaving. Think of Sarah, a woman who spent years in a marriage where her husband constantly let her down. He would forget anniversaries, make promises he never kept, and dismiss her feelings with a quick, "I'm sorry." For a long time, she held on to the hope that things would get better. But the day came when she realized that she wasn't just forgiving him, she was allowing herself to be disrespected. And so she left. Not in anger, not in resentment, but in quiet acceptance that she deserved more. Driving through life requires awareness, because people will switch lanes on you without a signal. One moment, they're right beside you, and the next, they're gone. Some friends will drift away, some family members will become distant, and some relationships will change in ways you never expected. But that is the nature of life. Constant movement, constant change. The key is to adapt without losing yourself. Robert, a retired professor, used to struggle with this. He would reach out to old friends only to be met with indifference. He would send letters only to receive no reply. One day, he decided to stop chasing after people who had already moved on. Instead, he focused on the relationships that were still thriving, on the people who showed up without being asked. And in doing so, he found peace. The choices we make in our later years are just as important as the choices we made when we were young. Maybe even more so, because now we understand what truly matters. It's not about impressing others, not about holding on to people who don't value us, and certainly not about wasting time on things that drain our energy. It's about living in a way that feels true to who we are. So ask yourself, what choices am I making every day? Are they bringing me peace or stealing it away? Am I holding on to things out of habit or because they genuinely make me happy? Am I giving my time to people who deserve it, or am I trying to change someone who will never change? The beauty of life is that every day is a new opportunity to choose differently. You can decide right now to start valuing yourself more, to stop chasing after those who don't see your worth, to surround yourself with kindness, with love, with authenticity. Because in the end, the life you live is a reflection of the choices you make. Make them wisely. Make them for you. 3. Relationships and growth. The lessons that shape us. One of life's hardest truths is that you never truly know someone until they don't get what they want from you. People are kind when everything is going their way, but watch what happens when you say no. That is when their true nature appears. Eleanor, a retired nurse in her 70s, learned this lesson the hard way. For years, she was the go-to person in her family, the one who lent money, the one who listened to everyone's problems, the one who never asked for anything in return. But the day she finally said, "I can't do this anymore," the calls stopped coming. The same people who once relied on her warmth disappeared when she set a boundary. It hurt, of course, but with time she realized that she hadn't lost true relationships. She had simply uncovered which ones were never real to begin with. Being honest about who you are and what you need may not win you a crowd, but it will bring the right people closer. The ones who stay when you have nothing to give. The ones who value you for your presence, not just your usefulness. At this stage in life, that is what matters. Genuine connections over shallow obligations. Growth in its truest form comes from the amount of truth you are willing to accept about yourself. It is easy to see the faults in others, to hold on to past wounds, to blame circumstances for our unhappiness. But real wisdom comes when you turn inward and ask, what have I been avoiding? What am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? The bravest people are not those who pretend to have all the answers, but those who admit when they are wrong, when they need to change, when they have more to learn. Frank, an 82-year-old retired professor, spent most of his life believing that discipline was something external, a schedule to follow, a goal to achieve. But as he got older, he realized that discipline is not just about routine. It is about control over oneself. You are either in charge of your mind or your mind is in charge of you, he often tells his grandchildren. If you let every emotion, every fear, every impulse dictate your actions, then you are not free. You are a prisoner of your own mind. And he is right. True freedom comes from mastering yourself, from knowing when to walk away, when to stay silent, when to forgive. Not because someone deserves it, but because you deserve peace. They say the first to apologize is the bravest, the first to forgive is the strongest, and the first to forget is the happiest. But this does not mean being weak or letting people take advantage of you. It means choosing peace over pride, choosing yourself over endless battles that lead nowhere. Maria, a woman in her late 70s, spent years holding on to resentment toward an old friend. They had once been inseparable, but a single betrayal had torn them apart. Even decades later, Maria still felt the sting of that wound. But one day, as she sat alone in her garden, she realized something. That person is not suffering from my anger. I am. The weight of carrying resentment had only hurt her. That day, she chose to let it go, not for the sake of her friend, but for her own freedom. Perhaps the most important relationship lesson of all is this. More important than the ability to pick the right person is the strength to walk away from the wrong one. George, an 85-year-old widower, once shared a piece of wisdom with his grandchildren. People spend too much time looking for the perfect person, he said, but what they really need is the strength to walk away from the wrong ones. You don't need 100 people in your life. You need a few good ones. And sometimes to find them, you have to clear space. Letting go is not just about removing toxic people. It is about removing expectations, removing the need to be understood by everyone, removing the belief that you have to keep proving your worth. At this stage in life, your time is too precious to waste on anyone who does not bring you peace. So choose wisely. Choose honesty over approval, growth over comfort, peace over resentment, and most of all, choose to live in a way that feels right to you, without fear, without regret, without the weight of relationships that no longer serve you. 4. Self-care and hope. The art of letting go. There comes a time in life when you must ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If you find yourself constantly questioning whether something or someone deserves your energy, the answer is probably no. Peace is not something you win through struggle. It is something you create by knowing what to hold on to and what to release. Take Evelyn, for example. She spent years trying to mend a relationship with an old friend who had grown distant. She would reach out, suggest meeting for coffee, send birthday messages, but the replies were always brief, the invitations always declined. One day, as she sat with her untouched cup of tea, waiting for another unanswered call, she asked herself, why am I the only one trying? That was the moment she let go, not with bitterness, not with anger, but with quiet acceptance. Some people are meant to stay, and some are just passing through. Learning to tell the difference is an act of self-care. Forgiving someone does not mean allowing them back into your life. Sometimes the most powerful form of forgiveness is done in silence. Letting go of resentment, choosing not to dwell on past wounds, and moving forward without carrying the weight of someone else's mistakes. You don't have to make an announcement. You don't have to give second chances to those who never valued the first one. You simply free yourself for your own sake. Charles, a retired musician, used to carry anger in his heart for a betrayal that happened decades ago. He would replay the moment in his mind, thinking of all the things he should have said, all the ways he could have changed the outcome. But the person who had wronged him had long since moved on, unaware that Charles was still carrying the burden. One morning, as he tuned his old guitar, he realized that the only person suffering from his resentment was himself. He set down his instrument, exhaled deeply, and whispered, I release this. That day, he played a melody he hadn't touched in years, one that sounded a little lighter, a little freer. Anything you start to take a relaxed attitude towards stops controlling you. Worry, regret, fear. These things lose their power when you stop feeding them. When you stop chasing people who don't appreciate you, you realize you never needed them to be whole. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you find relief in the unknown. And in the end, you will see everything will be all right. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Time has a way of softening the edges of our pain, of revealing lessons we couldn't see before, of leading us to places we never expected but always needed. So breathe deeply, let go of what weighs you down, and trust in the quiet wisdom of life. The best days may still be ahead, waiting for you to embrace them with open hands. Life has a way of teaching us what truly matters, not through words but through experience. As the years pass, we learn that peace is greater than pride, that letting go is sometimes the best form of love, and that the simplest joys are often the most precious. Now it's your turn. What's the most valuable lesson life has taught you? Share below. Remember, every day is a chance to live lighter, love deeper, and embrace what truly brings you happiness. Stay with us. There's more wisdom ahead, just waiting to be discovered.